Listen for the word of God in Isaiah 2, verses 2 through 5 from the Common English Bible. In the days to come, the mountain of the Lord's house will be the highest of the mountains. It will be lifted above the hills. People will stream to it. Many nations will go and say, "Come, let's go up to the Lord's mountain, to the house of Jacob, Jacob's God, so that he may teach us his ways and we may walk in God's paths." Instruction will come from Zion, the Lord's word from Jerusalem. God will judge between the nations and settle disputes of the mighty nations. Then they will beat their swords into iron plows and their spears into pruning tools. Nation will not take up sword against nation. They will no longer learn how to make war. Come, house of Jacob, let's walk by the Lord's light. The word of God, thanks be to God.
Thanks be to God.
Once read the story of an architect who died before seeing her masterpiece completed. At the grand opening, the MC said, "You know, it's a shame she didn't let this." And a wise soul in the audience replied back, "But she did see it. That's why it's here." People said about Martin Luther King Jr. that it's too bad he didn't live to see the first black president. But he and other civil rights giants did see it. And he even described it in a dream one day in this nation. In this case, of course, the building isn't complete, but like the prophet Isaiah, who saw a world that had abandoned war, it's there. It's just a not yet reality. The prophet said of those who walk on God's paths, who learn God's wisdom, they will beat their swords into plowshares, their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up sword against nation, neither will they learn how to make war anymore. It's quite an image of weapons that have become garden tools to feed the world. So there's a vivid description of heaven and hell found in a surprising number of cultures' folklore, from Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, medieval, European, and Chinese. So imagine it. There are two groups of people sitting around tables, overflowing with food. One group appears to be fully fed, happy, healthy. The other group looks like they're starving. They're miserable. Now, both groups have the utensils with which to eat that food from those piles of food. They've got forks and spoons, but the utensils are 6 feet long. And they're too long for somebody to feed themselves. The group that use their long forks to feed each other, they were the group happy, healthy, and living. The other group, well, you get the picture, and that is that hell is where there's plenty to eat, but no one's willing to feed the other. So they all starve. They're not willing, or it could be that nobody has figured out how. Now, Guy Harris figured out how. As a church, we all want to make a difference, a positive impact, contribute to the quality of life for our neighbors in Park Hill. And yet it's one thing to open our space for groups to have meetings and provide financial support for mission partners, or even provide overnight shelter. Those of us who gather inside the church on Sunday mornings wish more people could benefit, like we do, from participating in the rituals and liturgy of the church, and especially the rituals and liturgy of a church that is open and affirming. But Guy knew that there are walls and barriers around even the most open and affirming sanctuary. Amen? And that's why he championed the idea of a labyrinth outside. It's not to be an amenity for ourselves as members, but as a resource for our community. It's a way to contribute to the quality of life for our neighbors in Park Hill spiritually. Now, you may not know that the playground outside was built before we had a school here. Members saw a need. There was no playground close by, so they raised the money and built it. But a playground, just like meeting space and overnight shelter, serve external physical needs. Guy saw how a labyrinth serves an internal spiritual need, and that's something we mostly provide on Sunday morning. But that doesn't help if you are unable, for whatever reason, to walk through the doors of a church. He saw something our neighbors could use 24 hours a day to help them through times of grief. A place to center our chaotic lives, or a place to encounter the divine in whatever way one is able and whatever way one chooses to describe. And we might say, it's a shame he didn't live long enough to see it become a reality. But if you walk out the door, as Guy anticipated, at all times of the day, you'll see somebody out walking. Including one morning before dawn when Kathy Blake came over, set up for the rummage sale, and there was a man walking the labyrinth by the light of the street light where it came through the leaves of the trees. And you have to wonder, what was on the heart and mind of a man at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning that he would decide to use a labyrinth? Guy knew this, and he saw this not yet reality. And that's why we're here. That's why we can dedicate it today. On All Saints' Day, we honor the lives of members of the church who have died in the past year. And in our case this year, we lost 3. And I want to tell you about all the ways that they saw and pursued their own not yet reality. So Lucy Black Creighton died at age 91 on Christmas Day. Born in Birmingham, Alabama, she retained the best of Southern hospitality as the most gracious host one has ever encountered. She was a staunch Democrat, married for 62 years to Tom, an equally staunch Republican. And they modeled a marriage that polls today indicate parents most fear for their children. Not interracial, but cross-party. So the business editor of Rocky Mountain News described Lucy in 1990 as perhaps the best known of Denver's businesswomen, a pioneering, highly revered economist. Another retired CEO described her as the Duchess of Data. She became the go-to source for economic forecasts and then became vice president at First Interstate Bank, an economics professor at Colorado Women's College, which is the college over in the corner where Johnson & Wales is now, and president of the State Board of Land Commissioners, probably all at the same time. Now, can you imagine what it would have been like in the 1960s for a woman to decide to get a PhD in economics from Harvard? Who was her role model? She lived and modeled a not yet reality. And not just for herself, but for us too, and for that we are grateful. Cliff Cressy died in April at age 95. He was always coming up with ideas. There were practical ideas while he was doing something, like changing his grandkids' diapers. So in the early 80s, disposable diapers were new, and if you thought the baby was wet, unwrapping the diaper to check would rip off all the plastic. He first solved that problem with duct tape. But then he thought of an idea involving a little transparent window and a moisture-sensitive tape that would change colors when it's wet. And he named it the wee window. Or he thought about tinkle tester. He went to a patent attorney and found out that Kimberly-Clark had already patented the idea, even though at the time they had not yet actually made it work. He was always thinking. He'd be in a restaurant and say, "Oh, I have an idea," and start drawing. And Marilyn would say, "Oh, no, not again." And if he wasn't inventing, he was fixing things inventively. So one time Colette went to visit, his reading glasses had broken, and he fixed it with the ink tube of a big pen and a pipe cleaner. Cliff did actually hold a number of patents on tools and had a whole business manufacturing and selling his innovations and inventions, in addition to being an insurance agent. But always thinking of the way to make the world better, that's why Cliff answered the call of Martin Luther King Jr. Cliff went to Selma and crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge because Dr. King asked him to. If white people don't show up, our struggle will last too long. And so he showed up. And he lived and modeled a not yet reality, for which we're grateful. Jane Van Buskirk died a few months ago at age 98. She ran this church in the 1970s. She wasn't the pastor, but from the office, she knew more about what was going on than anyone else, and was on the front lines providing care for anyone in need or crisis. Roy Smith will tell you that she served as much as a pastor as anyone could, and helped him, as a new pastor, succeed. Now, Jane's life may have looked more conventional, but she was hardly a conventional woman within it. When her son David came out as a gay man, decades ago, Jane accepted him without question, but also helped this church then become open and affirming, which is a not yet reality she could see. So I last talked with Jane the week before her death, and hospice was in the other room preparing a bed for her. Clearly, with little time left on earth, I asked how she felt about what was coming next. As she lay in her bed, she raised her head a little and very clearly, although in her very squeaky voice, and confidently said, "I'm optimistic." Now, I've never heard anybody on their deathbed speak in that way. I have heard people say they are ready to go, as she had been for many years, never intending to live to 98. Or I'll hear people say they're happy to be reunited with their loved ones. Her answer was, "I'm optimistic." And I just love that. It's why so many of us loved her. And it's also why she beat breast cancer at age 90. She continued to live and model a not yet reality, for which we are grateful. These three otherwise ordinary and yet also so extraordinary members saw something not yet and made it real. And they are the legacy we carry for the next generation. We who are otherwise ordinary, and yet just as extraordinary, have a story that will be told too. What do you see that's a not yet reality? It's easy to get bogged down in what cannot be done. It's easy to say, "I just can't imagine it," when confronted with a problem we think has no answer. But you see something too. And you carry around a something not yet for yourself, for your family, your community, our church. And you can make it real too. Like the prophet Isaiah said, if you walk on God's paths, by the light of the Lord, instruction will come. It's wisdom by listening. As impossible as a world where weapons have become gardening tools. And that's one gift, and that's one intention of the labyrinth we dedicate today. Like life, if we will keep with it through the seemingly endless twisting turns, if we stay on the path, we will not get lost. Because it's not a maze, it's not meant to confuse us. We won't get lost if we stick to it. So we enter with the intention to find the center, our center, and then return by the same path, ready to engage. One author described the three movements of a labyrinth as entering, centering, and returning. Every time we need to, 24 hours a day. So we say thank you, Guy, for seeing it. We say thank you to David Conger, who's not here today, but we will honor later, for the enormous lengths he went to make this happen. Huge effort. To the 52 different donors who made it happen by their contributions. To our talented architect, who would have been here but is in Beijing, and especially the men we invited who laid it out and carefully placed every single brick. And our not yet reality of quite a number of years is now finally real. Thanks be to God.
Thanks, Peter.